What is far deadlier than most people realize? Serious. Putting feet legs on dash of car. I stopped doing that after hearing a horror story from an EMT who went to a crash site where they found a passenger's legs thrown over their shoulders like a scarf. Duck that. Edit, 6K Karma? WTF. I read this story a while back. If you're not used to reading x-rays, this is not where the leg bone should be. Abscess teeth can kill you. I had an abscess at 21 that I didn't get treated until I was 28 due to a fear of the dentist. By that point it was a root canal and an extraction, and I now have a section of my jaw missing. Get it early and avoid this shit. Oh my god, this makes me even more terrified to have my shit sorted. Edit, can't afford the dentist anyway, in Canada. I feel so bad for you US folks. Don't be I didn't go for 10 years and had a part of my tooth broke off, and while I did need some work done and it cost some money, but it's never too late to go. Things will only get worse, so you'll never regret going once you get on a regular schedule again. Plus I spread out my visits so I didn't just do everything all at once. Dentists and hygienists are used to people letting it go for a long time. They are just happy you're in there to get it taken care of no matter how long. Eating a slug. Obviously it's nasty, but kids do stupid shit as dares or even in hazing rituals. Slugs contain parasites that will get into your brain and ducking kill you slowly. I just read a whole article about rat lungworm and snails and slugs that is haunting me. Insulin. Looking at drops on a table, you can barely tell the difference between the therapeutic dose and a lethal one. Edit, if anyone can find the actual image of 2 doses of insulin on a table, I'd super appreciate it. I was going to post the link for reference, but I couldn't find it. Fights. People are way too eager to prove who's the bigger badass. Hit someone the wrong way or start something with the wrong person and someone's not going home. Then if the police show up, someone's getting charged. Depending on the severity of the other party's injuries and the word of witnesses, you could be going away for a very long time. Not to mention the civil suites that may bury you in debt. Yep. I got sucker punched right above my left eye. 6 stitches and a fractured orbital socket, and had to stay overnight at the hospital for observation since it was a head injury. Since the injuries were from an assault, charges were automatically pressed and we found ourselves in court a few months later. All from a single punch. What happened to the perp? Did you at least get some sort of redemption? Garage door springs. They will kill you. Please elaborate. I've never given these things a second thought. Had to redo ours recently. They're big and really tightly wound. They're designed to hold a majority of the weight so the motor doesn't have to be monstrous. But changing them requires unwinding them turn by hand, which is a full 85 kilograms body weight, with leverage job. If you aren't really careful, you lose control and they'll break you with your lever tool. Stress. Oh wonderful, now I'm stressed about my stress levels. Real black licorice root extract contains the natural sweetener glycyrrhizin, which is over 50 times sweeter than sucrose. This ingredient has various pharmaceutical properties. It acts as an expectorant, facilitating removal of mucus from the lungs by coughing, and it increases blood pressure. The latter effect can become significant with a daily consumption of 50 grams or more of licorice candy for as little as 2 weeks. Glycyrrhizin can cause potassium levels in the body to fall, triggering abnormal heart rhythms, as well as high blood pressure, edema, swelling, lethargy, and congestive heart failure in some people. I always loved going to Europe as a kid and finding the licorice candies with the may cause hypertension warning labels on them. Felt dangerous eating them. Ha! Tylenol. It's actually a lot easier to overdose on than most people realize, and it slowly destroys your liver over a period of days. Not a fun way to die, to put it lightly. For all you high-functioning alcoholics out there, just avoid Tylenol. Infections can still duck you up easily if you don't seek medication attention in time. Posted safety precautions. When there are signs saying something, lots ignore, thinking they know better. I used to work for a place that makes big tractors. Different stations are restricted from using certain. One day this lady was wearing the wrong gloves. Her station is only supposed to use latex. She didn't take that seriously and wore thicker reinforced gloves. She was using the lug nut machine that tightens 12 giant lugs at once. Her glove got caught, and instead of ripping the fingertip off of her latex glove, it ripped her thumb right the duck off her hand. I witnessed it, and her mistake haunts me to this day. They had to restrain her while two men held her hand up in the air away from her. Her wails and screams were terrifying. All because she ignored a well-placed warning. Edit, thanks for the awards and upvotes. Never posted anything that received that much attention. Thanks for the dopamine hit. If there's a warning sign posted, I usually assume it's because someone already F'd up and had that exact thing happen to them. Safety rules are always written in blood. Engulfment and confined spaces. With confined spaces, people usually don't realize that O2 runs out rather quickly. Engulfment because people probably don't think about essentially drowning in non-liquids. Flowing solid materials don't even have to cover your nose to asphyxiate you. Anything above belly button level will slowly constrict your diaphragm each time you breathe out. Just like a boa constrictor. I fell into a deflashing vat of shirt buttons once when I was about 13 years old. My dad was the plant manager of a shirt button factory in Knoxville, Tennessee back in the early 1980s. He and I were there on a Saturday morning. He was doing paperwork, and I was exploring the plant. Got to the section where the deflashing tanks were and tried to lean over and scoop up a handful of buttons. Lost my balance and fell in. It was about 5 to 6 feet deep, but filled with plastic shirt buttons. I went all the way to the bottom. I was able to stand up and stand on the top of the mixing blades that were turned off. Took forever to get out. The buttons squeezed me as I tried to move. Scariest moment of my life. I don't even let my kids do the whole bury me in sand at the beach thing. Terrible memories of that. I know of a dude who was being buried in sand at the beach by his family and died when the rocky layer underneath the sand shifted, opening a void into which he was sucked. Scary shit. Hey, thanks for the brand new nightmare. Horses. They weigh 1,200 pounds, they're extremely jittery, and they can crush you or kick you to death on accident. And that's just horses in general. Stallions will try to hurt you just to assert dominance. And these are animals that have been known to bite each other's throats out when they fight. Don't mess with horses unless you know what you're doing. Always be careful, even if you do. A friend of mine from school always had horses, and was a truly excellent rider. She lived her life around horses, rode competitively, the whole deal. 1 year out of school, we heard she died, got kicked in the chest, I believe attempting to get a nervous horse out of the float. So absolutely sad and definitely reinforced for me how much care to take. I'm also reminded of a relief teacher we had missing a finger, apparently bitten by a horse when she was younger. One of my friend's sister-in-laws fell from her horse and got kicked on the way down. The horse kicked her eye out. Her face disintegrated and the eye was gone. She still rides now. They're so beautiful. From a safe distance. Just want to throw a story out here. I am a dentist. I have a colleague who had a patient that needed a root canal. The patient put it off. He had a vacation coming up. He was going to Alaska in bush country to go hunting. By himself. Now Alaska bush country means you are alone. He was dropped off and his ride wasn't going to come back to pick him up for a week or two. Well, after his ride left the tooth he needed to get his root canal on blew up. Had severe pain and was all alone, no one to help him in the middle of nowhere. This was mid to late 90s, so no cell phone either. Well, his ride came back to pick him up. Finds a dead body. The guy killed himself. He couldn't take the pain anymore. Pain was so bad he couldn't wait the 1 or 2 weeks for his ride to come back. Shot himself, left a suicide note telling his story. Moral of the story. Don't put this shit off. There is no pain like tooth pain. On my way to brush my teeth. Trucker here. I've had 2 blood clots in my legs from driving long distances and having my leg pressed against the corner of the seat for hours on end. One almost killed me. Apparently it's very common with truckers. You're supposed to stop and walk around every hour and have to keep things circulating, which almost nobody does due to time constraints. The same thing happens in gaming chairs apparently. People forget to move their legs because they're so focused on the game. You don't need to worry so much if you're younger, but if you're a gamer who's a little older, please be aware. Deep vein thrombosis, DVT, is a well-documented effect of long-haul flights too. Which is why pilots who fly long-haul and ultra-long-haul, flights lasting more than 10 hours, wear pressure socks. Passengers are advised to walk around the cabin once every few hours. With flights lasting up to 18 hours, this is a necessity. Get the blood moving. If any of these clots somehow dislodge and reach your heart, it is goodbye. MD here clots form in medium-sized veins, most commonly in the legs. If part of that clot breaks off, it travels up the larger veins that feed to the heart. It then enters the right side of the heart where blood is pumped to the lungs to be oxygenated. The arteries in the lung get progressively smaller the further from the heart. This is where clots can be problematic, not the heart which is a larger diameter. If the clot is large and blocks one of the larger arteries, or worse saddles at the branch to both lungs, it can be fatal for 3 reasons. First, it creates extra pressure that the heart has to pump against. The right side of the heart doesn't handle pressure well like the left side, where a typical systolic pressure is 20 to 30 versus 120 plus of the left. Small increases in pressure can cause extra strain in the right heart leading to heart failure, severe peripheral edema, and death. Secondly, the clot can cause a lung infarction and kill off part of the lung. And lastly, it prevents oxygenation. Luckily, the vast majority of pulmonary embolisms lodge in smaller, more peripheral vessels where they only cause the latter, blocking some oxygenation and causing mild shortness of breath and chest pain. They are easily treated with blood thinners and avoiding the provoking cause.